Hey guys, David here, Texas Horns football. Another game recap. Texas 50, but Kansas 48. A 2-point win over the Kansas Jayhawks. Kansas has never beaten Texas in Austin, but it almost happened Saturday. So let's talk about this one. What happened? What needs to be fixed? What has to be fixed? And also looking at the good that actually was able to pull this W out of the jaws of defeat. But drop your comments below. Definitely give the video a like, thumbs up, share it out. Definitely want to know what you think about the game. What is your number one thing that you think Texas needs to fix from this point on? Would love to kind of know what that is, and I'll tell you my opinion as well. So overall, definitely not the way anybody thought this game would turn out. Thought the game started the way most of us thought the whole game would go. Texas gets the ball, drives down the field pretty easily, sets up Rashawn Johnson for a pretty easy touchdown there, where he was pretty much untouched toward the end zone. I know most fans are definitely going to point directly to the defense, in particular the defensive backs again. And sure, I think that is the number one glaring weakness and inconsistency on this team, absolutely without question. Obviously, a lot of knee-jerk reactions. Todd Orlando needs to be fired, losing confidence in this coaching staff, all those type of things. And, on the surface level, I get it. Most fans should be, I think, upset with that performance. Even in Tom Herman's press conference, Kirk Bowles, the longtime writer for the Austin American-Statesman, asked Tom Herman, he said, is it wrong for fans to be upset or concerned about that performance against Kansas? And Herman immediately said, no, fans should be upset. He said that we have a standard here. And I really liked hearing that from him, because it at least shows where his mindset is that sure, it's just hard to win and look really good doing it and stay healthy week to week to week. It's just hard, okay? Last year's Texas team, the team that beat Georgia in the Sugar Bowl, the team that did beat Oklahoma in October last year, that team beat Kansas by 7 points. This year, they beat Kansas by 2 points. They just needed 50 points to do it. So, we should be concerned, we should be upset, but I think with some logic, right, with some football knowledge, to just take a look at it. That's why I like to do these recap videos a couple of days after the game, maybe 2 or 3 days after the game. I like to see what the press conference says. I like to read, just kind of the knee-jerk reactions. I like to let my knee-jerk reactions kind of settle down, because I certainly have those myself. But here's the thing: plenty of points to win the game, sure. Running backs, I thought, looked great. Keontae Ingram looked great. Maybe his second best game at Texas. I think the Oklahoma State game was his best game at Texas. Rashawn Johnson looked good. Sam ran the ball well. Sam threw the ball like 40-something times, 44 times, but still completed about 70% of his passes. Had nearly 400 yards passing. So, the performance is there from the offense. I think, sticking with the offensive side of the ball, the offensive line has started to crack a little bit, started to show some weakness, definitely against Oklahoma, allowing 9 sacks, but also showing, a few cracks, I think, against Kansas, where Kansas impressed, obviously, was their offense. Puka Williams, running back, he's one of the most dynamic running backs in the country, and I absolutely think he would start on 8 teams in this conference, including the Texas Longhorns. Puka Williams would be the number 1 running back right now for Texas. So, he had 190 yards. I had this pulled up, but yeah, 190 yards, a couple touchdowns for him. He averaged 7.6 yards per carry. Carter Stanley, the quarterback, averaged 7.2 yards per carry, and then Stanley had his 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. He looked great too. I think overall with this defense, I've kind of reached the point to where I just flat out don't like the fundamental scheme and idea of the 3 down linemen, 19 different defensive backs, on every play, and expecting pressure to come from blitzing cornerbacks or blitzing safeties. More and more I think we're seeing the scheme of the defense using these defensive backs to where they have to run such long ways to make these blitzes or pressure packages effective. And a lot of times, number one, it just takes them too long to get there, and number two, they're running themselves out of play, just out of position, and offenses are just capitalizing on that. I think we're also seeing the defensive backs, especially on the deeper passes, they just don't play the ball. They don't get their head around. They look out of position. They're acting as if they're just going to try to run close and hopefully it's an incomplete pass. Now, yes, there's injuries. Yes, these guys are young. Absolutely. At some point you've got to step up and you just got to go with what you have. I saw a stat yesterday that the Texas defense is the worst in the country in the fourth quarter. And if there's anything on a defense that you want the exact opposite of, is you don't want to be the worst when it matters most. You want to be able to put teams away. You want to be able to continue to bring pressure and do what you want to do. That's a really scary stat, being the worst in the country in the fourth quarter. Obviously, still one of the worst pass defenses in the country statistically. So there's a lot of issues, I think, other than just pointing to the defensive backs. Yes, they're banged up. BJ Foster, I think, is playing about 20% speed the past 2 weeks. Brandon Jones is being asked to do things that he just doesn't do. You're rolling different guys out there every week. The freshman Estel's been out there. Jalen Green's still hurt. Caden Stearns is still hurt. Stearns isn't even going to be ready for TCU. And there's still an importance of having continuity and having a group back there that you can confidently continuously put on the field and know what you can do with those guys. And but I never like to focus on the main issue or problem being the furthest away from the line of scrimmage. The ball starts at the line of scrimmage, which that's the most important. And I just don't think this defense is built to get pressure, backfield disruption at the line of scrimmage. I think those guys are good players. I think Colburn and Roach and Sweat and Ajomo and all those guys, I think they're good players. I just think that the way this defense is run is not going to allow for a lot of attacking at the line of scrimmage, and I think we're seeing that more and more. So, that's kind of my overall thoughts about the issues with the defense. I do think it starts with a scheme, a personnel, and then how much of that is just a lack of fundamentals. Hard to tell when you're not watching practice every day, but you can see the result, and the result's not good. Obviously, Tom Herman is concerned with it, and it's going to have to get fixed. Listen, we've got we've got good offenses coming up like Baylor, dangerous teams like Iowa State and Kansas State, who always plays Texas well. I don't think Texas has beaten TCU in Fort Worth in the past 5 or 6 years, whatever that, going back, every other year. So other main points, let's see. I think the offense didn't help the defense out in the fourth quarter in this game. Obviously, Sam threw that bad interception deep in their own territory, and then you had Jake Smith fumble after he caught that ball kind of in the seam and turned upfield and kind of tried to dive with the ball out a little bit and got hit. Fumbled, set the defense up in bad field position again. So, later in the game, the offense didn't do the defense a whole lot of favors. But when it came down to it, it was Sam and the offense that pulled the game out and really bailed the defense out. Obviously that's what you want to see from an offense, no matter who your opponent is, to be able to go down there with, I think it was less than a minute and a half where they put that drive together. Sam hit Colin on a couple of plays. Sam had a big third down run. It was 3rd and 6, I believe, to keep that alive, and then setting it up for Dicker the kicker, who's just ice. He actually put it right into the All-State hands, for the net behind the goalpost, which was pretty cool. So, thanks be to Cameron for bailing it out, and for Sam again. But Sam can't do it all by himself. The defense is going to have to eventually step up. But you at the same time you can't put a defense that is injured and that has guys, a ton of freshmen, sophomores. You can't constantly ask them to be on the field. I saw a stat, and Steven over at Fanatic Perspective talked about this on his video recap, that the defense was out there for 86 plays, 86 snaps. That's not what you want from a defense as banged up as Texas, and that has as many issues as they do right now. Joseph Asai, I think, is still a bright spot on defense without question. Deshaun Jamison is still a bright spot back there. He had that extra point block, and he returned that for 2 points, which turned out to be a major factor in the game, winning by 2 points. But yeah, you don't want a defense out there for 86 snaps. Another weird thing that I thought the offense put the defense in a bad spot was a really weird 4th down call earlier in the game where they lined up Jake at quarterback and just did a direct snap to him. And I think that was like a 4th and 2 play. And we haven't seen that all year, number one. Number two, Jake is a freshman. Yes, he's a phenomenal athlete. He runs fantastic routes, but you've got Sam, you've got Rashawn, who's a big dude. Okay, Rashawn Johnson isn't this just shifty, swift athlete who you stuck back there at running back. He's a big guy. Ingram is back there. Hell, Daniel Jones, your bigger running back. Daniel Young. I went Daniel Jones, quarterback for the Giants. But yeah, a direct snap to Jake Smith is your 6th or 7th option. So that was really weird. That put the defense in a bad spot again. So some weird play calling. Yeah, I think a lot of it was kind of hungover from losing to Oklahoma and, having 2 losses on the schedule. But, credit to Kansas. I think their offense is good and getting better. I think that is legit. They have players on offense. And like I said, obviously Puka Williams is a player. Carter Stanley, he looked really good, really confident on his throws. So, interested to see what Kansas does for the rest of the season. So, those were my kind of overall thoughts. Thought several players on the offense had a good game, but overall, I just think that there's just kind of a feeling that you're kind of, whether it's injuries, whether it's lack of confidence on the defense, or just not knowing how to fix the problems, I just kind of feel like this team is starting to just kind of show some cracks. Like you're starting to see like there's a crack there. That crack right there is bigger than it was last week or 2 weeks ago, and it's just starting to kind of like maybe crack and wear down a little bit. And there's a lot of games left to play. TCU's defense, Gary Patterson's going to have them ready to play. Yes, TCU lost to Kansas or Kansas State in a close game. That doesn't really surprise me though. Going into Fort Worth, and TCU is going to smell a little bit of blood. They're going to think that they got a good opportunity to beat Texas. Okay. We still got Baylor coming up. Baylor's still undefeated. They're kind of squeaking by a little bit. Haven't really beaten anybody. They beat Oklahoma State in a somewhat close game. They pulled away late at the end. But you got Baylor, you got Iowa State that always plays Texas well. Kansas State always plays Texas well. You do have Texas Tech coming into Austin. So a lot is still on the line for the rest of the season. There's a conference championship game on the line. There is, the possibility of meeting maybe LSU again in the Sugar Bowl, maybe Georgia again. Heck, maybe Alabama. Who knows what's going to happen in the SEC? There is a ton to play for left in this season, and I kind of think a lot of fans are just kind of focusing on, holy crap, 2 points to Kansas. And maybe Texas is going to need a couple of weeks to light a fire under this thing and just figure it out. Because, when you have a unit that's banged up or not playing up to par, you're gonna have to have other players step up and make up for that. You just are. Just like when we pretty much started this season with one scholarship running back who was healthy. We had to take the third string true freshman quarterback and stick him back there at the backup running back position. Rashawn Johnson stepped up. You're going to have that. And, you're going to have it from the linebackers and the 3 down linemen. So, we'll see. We'll see what changes. Supposedly Jalen Green's going to be back next week. Caden Stearns will not be. I think BJ Foster is just kind of get out there, kind of doing what he can. I don't think he's anywhere near healthy. Deshaun Jameson, hopefully he steps up again. We have seen him step up. And then, seeing what some of these other new guys can do. So, anyway, those are my overall thoughts about the 2-point win against Kansas. A 2-point win against Kansas that was a walk-off field goal from Dicker the Kicker. But, guys, don't forget to check us out on Facebook, Texas Horns Football page on there. We have more than 54,000 Longhorns fans on there. So join us on there. Again, give the video a like. Share it out. Let me know your comments below. How do you see the rest of the season playing out as well? And we'll see you on the next video. Hook 'em.